they should be communicating because they don't know all of it. You should have a quarterback. It's like having your general practitioner, and then you have all these specialists, and if they're not communicating, you're losing money. How much is it every time I need to do an amendment to my plan? If it's going to be a fee, then you might want to talk to another person. Like I said, daily, businesses evolve. You have to be able to mend your plan along with it if things change. The IRS doesn't care about you, to be honest with you, the owners of the company. You're considered.
Entrepreneurs, let's get real for a second. You've got the hustle, you've got the vision, the caffeine, but do you have a retirement plan? If your idea of a retirement strategy is sell the business and hope for the best, then stick around because today's guest, Matt Ruttenberg, co-founder of Life Inc. Retirement Services, is here to share some insights with you. He's here to help you stop winging it with your financial future and start building a retirement plan that's actually built for how entrepreneurs work and live. Let's unpack the 401k without the 401 confusion. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Melissa. I appreciate you having me on.
Today, we're talking about something most entrepreneurs avoid until it's way too late, the retirement planning. Matt, tell us a little bit about how you started in this field, and let's get the elephant out of the room at the beginning. Why are so many entrepreneurs putting off and ignoring retirement planning?
That's a really good question. We talk to a lot of business owners, and I think it's because, they put it off, but that's okay. I always say it's okay because they're looking down, they're building their baby, right, for decades even. And then they look up and all of a sudden they have a profit. They're like, what do I do with this money? Or how do I diversify all my money from outside of this one micro company for the most part and start putting it elsewhere? And most of it's tax driven. They're trying to get their taxes in order. And what we do is we build these retirement plan stacks. And that's like one of the first steps to do. And they look up, they have this profit, and all of a sudden, like, oh, shoot, my CPA's telling me to do this, my CPA's telling me this. This is one of the first things you got to take care of.
Yeah, let's get to the good stuff. What type of retirement plan should entrepreneurs be looking at, and how do they know which one fits? I know personally there's so many, solo K, SEP IRAs. Like, where do we start?
Yeah, it's so vast, right? It's such a vast world, and you start getting online and trying to Google things and what's this and what's that, which one makes sense for me, what entity structure do I have? And the reality is it should be a combination, or it could be a combination of all these different things. You say simple, you say SEP, there's 401k, there's safe harbor, profit sharing, defined benefit. What is it? And at the end of the day, it's none of them. Nobody's should be the same. Your retirement plan stack is what we call it. We build these retirement plan stacks, and it's completely based on what your business looks like. No business is the same, so no retirement plans should be the same. And it's stacking. As your profit builds, you start stacking these plans on top of each other. But part of that equation is, do I have employees? What am I, an S Corp? Am I C Corp? Am I LLC? Am I just a sole proprietorship with no entity, but I'm just a 1099? So I file a Schedule C. What is it? What are we looking at? And it all comes down to, what is it that you as the owner want to do? And we simply just ask two questions. One is, why are you talking to me? What are we here for? Are you here for, is it you or is it your employees? If you don't have employees, that's easy. We know the answer for that. The second question is, what are we earmarking? Are we trying to stockpile as much as humanly possible? Are we just a certain dollar amount, or are you reinvesting in your company? And then that drives it down. This is what your retirement plan stack looks like. The 401k, the profit sharing, advanced plan options that get you well into the 6 digits are available. And it's a legitimate option. It's just it's always about the owner. Always about the owner. The tax code is built for the owner. There's 7,000 pages, right, of the tax code. We're working with one or 2 or 3. It's all how does it connect to all these other tax codes? But you just have to take care of your employees first. It's like, let's check off that box. The IRS doesn't care about you, to be honest with you, the owners of the company. You're considered highly compensated. They want to make sure that your employees are taken care of, and then you can go all in.
Ready to lead smarter and invest wiser? On the Executive Connect podcast, we unpack executive strategies for wealth and influence. Hit the subscribe button now. Don't just watch, act.
Yeah, when I think of taxes, I think of my biggest expense that I have to date is the taxes I pay. And so I often am looking for different investments that give me the best peace of mind and the best tax write-off. So can you talk a little bit about what are the actual benefits of having a solid retirement plan younger rather than later?
Yeah. You know, in the entrepreneur side of the world, right? It's taxes. Business owners care about 2 things. It's growing their business and taxes. Those are the number 1 and 2, right? And we need to make sure that those 2 things are taken care of when we're building out this retirement. This is all we do, right? We're not financial planners. We just build these retirement plan stacks for the company. And the tax part of it is number 1. And we have to build this out to where that part is taken care of. Then we start talking about the investments inside of it. Like that's a whole nother conversation. 401k, 401a, if you want to be even more broad, is actually has nothing to do with investments. It has to do with how your money is taxed. And then the earlier, the better, because compound interest obviously is very important. But at the same time, that's later in the conversation. That's step 2 is what kind of investments do you want to get? Do you want to invest in just stocks, bonds, mutual funds, index funds, the basics? Or do you want to get into cryptocurrency? Or do you want to get into real estate? Do you want to be a private lender? And all that's allowed inside of your plan. But you got to get the money in first. And that's where we really start having fun, is building this actual retirement plan stack. And I guess I should probably take a step back on what am I talking about with a retirement plan stack. Imagine an upside down tiered wedding cake. Okay. This is your retirement. So the bottom layer is your 401k. Or it could be a set buyer. It could be simple. But then as you start creating more profit into your business, then we start profit sharing is level 2, defined benefit, executive benefits on top of that. So you just keep building. The 401k is the smallest portion. And that's the 23,500 that we all know and love, right? But we're building plans out that are getting, if you have employees, over $1 million per year into this plan. Even with just a few employees, you can get very high into the 6 digits when you design these right. And then you figure out the investments. Then you figure out, okay, where is this going to take me beyond that? And how much do you want to earmark towards tax efficient, pre-tax, the Roth component, all that. And then the investments are after that.
Yeah. And I think as an employee too, the tax deferral is so important. Investing in these, when your income is larger, when you're, making more money versus when you retire. So the benefit too is the tax deferral. I know, investing younger, in theory, you're making more money now versus when you retire. So deferring that tax, I always think it's such an important tax strategy for me personally.
I agree. I think that that's a very split opinion, believe it or not. In your income level, it's interesting. Some of the higher income business owners that we work with, they're all about Roth. They want the Roth, right? So which you do not get the deduction on, but it's all the growth ends up being tax free, assuming you check off all the boxes. You wait till 59 and a half. So we have business owners who are simply just stockpiling just so they can convert it over to Roth. But at the same time, I also have other very, very high income entrepreneurs that are like, no, I need all pre-tax. I need all pre-tax so I can reinvest the money the taxes that I'm saving. And that's, if if you're able to have that, well, I'm saving 100 grand in my taxes, I'm saving 200 grand, you reinvest that. And that's super important, because then you're almost doing the rich dad, poor dad. You're creating these assets out of other assets, out of these savings that you're creating. And it's funny. It's a 50-50 split out there. And it's which philosophy do I go with? It's funny.
It's funny. One of my advisors always tells me, Melissa, it's do 4, get 1 free. So I love that you said that, because I think deferral, and my advisor thinks, Melissa, don't worry about the deferral. It's do 4, get 1 free. And I'm like, okay, I get free. I'll write house's money on the next thing. So I think you're spot on. I think talking to your CPA or financial advisor about these savings is really key. I know the first time I started talking to them, I was thinking, one thing, and they've completely schooled me on a whole nother way of tax.
It's funny. It's really, it's like, okay, which perspective do I look at it from? And like I said, this is, do you do Roth? Do you do Pretax? That is one decision out of 7,000 pages, right? Out of the IRS code. How does it connect? And having a good team, like you have an advisor. If you don't have a team, if you're a business owner and you don't have your team set up, I mean, you have to do that. You have to do that. You have to have people you trust and bounce side, and they all have to communicate. They should be communicating, because they don't know all of it. You should have a quarterback and then you specialist. It's like having your general practitioner from the medical side of it, and then you have all these specialists. And if they're not communicating, it could end up you're losing money. You're absolutely losing money that way.
Money Ripples is on a mission to help professionals like you get their money working harder. Their clients free up an average of $35,000 their first year without having to work extra hours. To show you how, they've put together a powerful training called Cash Flow Secrets. And as a listener of the Executive Connect podcast, you can get it completely free. Just visit moneyripples.com/secrets and enter the promo code EXEC. I love that you said the doctor analogy, because as soon as you said that, I was thinking about like my board of directors, and it's right. Like even your doctors, like one doctor may say, hey, go have that knee operated, and the other one might say, whoa, that's, too soon to be doing that. Do some PT first. And so advisors are so important. So let's talk about some common missteps and how to avoid them. I know I personally have paid a lot of dumb tax and making mistakes. And so I'm hoping we can save some of the listeners some dumb tax. So what mistakes do you see entrepreneurs making, and maybe how can they avoid them?
That's a big question. There's a lot. So in my side, my corner of the industry, of the financial industry, the 401k world, the defined benefit, the misconception that all 401ks play. So the 401k is one part of the equation, but the misconception that all 401ks are created equal is so far from the truth, right? They say, oh, or my CPA or my accountant or my tax advisor is telling me to open a 401k plan. They're not, referring you to anybody. They're just like, just go open a 401k. And they start Googling 401k and they're like, okay, this is a 401k, or my payroll company does it as a side hustle or something like that, or whatever they're doing. And it's like, okay, that seems easy, right? And that is so far from the truth, because let's go back to that retirement plan stack, right? The upside down tiered wedding cake. Every layer needs to be designed a very specific way to maximize the layer above it. And if it's not, you're literally throwing money out the door. In either you're giving your employees too much money, which if that's your goal, if that's your answer to question number one, why are you here? It's for my employees. That's great. Throw them the money. However, if that's not, then I've seen it to where 5 digits of contributions are going to your employee pool that you didn't want them to go to. And then not to mention the tax savings on top of that. So you could be losing 6 digits of tax savings and contributions out the door because it wasn't put together correctly. So That is probably the biggest misconception. The biggest thing is just go with the easy button, pick the one that you think is easy for you to do, and not make sure that it's all connected. And that should be the specialist. That's one of the specialists, is how does this connect to everything else? Because sometimes this one doesn't work. We need to go circle back and go to another tax code to help you find something different. And that's where all the communication comes back to.
I have some small business entrepreneur friends that are like, Melissa, I don't need anybody to help. I can do it myself. I've got ChatGPT that's going to give me all the answers. And so I'm curious your perspective, like finding a trusted partner that understands, these plans. What's the best way for entrepreneurs to find somebody that makes sense for them?
And that's hard. That's kind of hard to find the ones, and that's why I am out here talking to you to even today, is to try to get that misconception straightened out. It's hard to know who is the person because a lot of time you go to your quarterback, your general practitioner, say, who should I work with, and they'll send you to somebody, but might not be educated in that side of it. So you have to do your due diligence. Don't click the easy button. And kind of going back to that part of it, there's two kinds of 401k plans. I should probably say there's two kinds of 401k documents. It's called an adoption agreement or a plan document. One's boilerplate. It's called a prototype. Okay, so that's like you going to LegalZoom, downloading your legal document that you need and plugging your name in the already made legal document, right? Or you go non-prototype, which is custom. It's like you going directly to the attorney instead of LegalZoom and building this document exactly for what you need for your family or your business or whatever. Two different models. One is easy, that works for probably a large percentage, but if you have any sort of depth, if you have a lot of things going on in your world, a lot of financial things, like a lot of different investments, a lot of different businesses, especially if you're if you're an entrepreneur with multiple businesses, is how does that all connect? How do those all connect into the same plan? And how do we use all the funds, all the income coming in to max fund all these things? And how does the calculations work? So which one's doing what? Which one's doing the boilerplate and which one's doing the custom? That's hard to find. Generally speaking, if it's like a bundled approach, like your payroll provider or or this company is also doing 401ks, generally you're going to find a boilerplate option. So finding that specialist, a third-party administrator, that's our core business model. Those are the ones who are hopefully are going to be doing the ones that are the custom models.
This episode's sponsor is a couple I absolutely love, David and Alexis Kiwi. They help power couples be successful at home just like they are at work. If you're crushing it in the business world but quietly disconnected from your spouse, you're not alone. Check them out at davidandalexiskiwi.org. They have spent years creating a simple tool set that will help you save your marriage. Don't forget to use code EXECUTIVE1 to save $500 off their 6-week coaching program. davidandalexiskiwi.org, code EXECUTIVE1. Is there I'm thinking of how to foolproof this to make it the simplest way. Is there a certain questionnaire that small business owners do, or is it just really just simply interviewing, like you would a doctor, finding the right fit? So, I think about we want to empower, entrepreneurs to grow wealth alongside of growing their business, but finding the right team, just like you would find the right employees that work at the company to drive your mission. I find that this has been such an important topic, what we're talking about today, to so many businesses, because like you said, if you're wasting your money in areas and you're not picking up on either tax savings or ways you should be doing things, it's costing you, tens of hundreds of thousands. So is there a foolproof way to like solve some of these problems? Or is it just simply come down to what you were saying, finding the right advisors to educate you?
I think the interviewing, like you said, the doctors, like which one makes sense. But at the same time, so some of the questions you want to, I feel are important are you want to have someone who's going to consult with you. You want to make sure that, are you going to talk to me and give me advice? Even for like accountants too, this kind of goes hand in hand, or any professional in your financial life is, are you going to consult with me and give me advice throughout the year? Businesses evolve like every year, daily. Your business model changes every time you have someone, one of your employees, especially for small businesses, right? So if you have like under 50 employees, which is a huge percentage of the population in the business world, if you lose an employee, you just evolve. Like now, my numbers look different. If you have a key employee gone, like, oh wait, now everything changes. And you need to be able to evolve, and you need to be able to consult with someone, and they need to be able to communicate with your other professionals that you have. And if you interview, there's a lot of third party administrators, especially in my side of the world. A lot of them are order takers. You don't want to have an order taker, especially the more successful you are. And order takers are the ones that are like, I want to do this, and they say okay. They don't say, well, let me tell you the ins and outs, and let me show you from all these different angles, and let's make sure this makes sense. Let's go talk to this other person in your world so we can make sure it all connects. So consultations are key. Being able to consult with someone is very important. And then very specifically, we don't charge for amendments. We don't amend that's one question. How much is it every time I need to do an amendment to my plan? If it's going to be a fee, then you might want to talk to another person, because you have to be, like I said, daily businesses evolve. You have to be able to amend your plan along with it if things change. Some things you can amend mid-year, some things you have to amend at the first part of the year, but you have to be able to say, no, this isn't working. We need to do the calculation this way instead of this way. And there's so many ways to do calculations inside a plan. There's a lot of gray area. And if every time you make a change, there's a fee, then that's probably not the person you want to get, especially the more complex your situation. If you own 15 LLCs or 10 LLCs, that's even more complex, and that's more evolution that you have to play with. So those are very important questions: consultation and amendments, just in my side of the world.
I love that. I think that's a really good starting point, because I think a lot of times, people build a plan and then they package that plan up, put it on the shelf, and forget it until something comes up that makes them want to look at it. But finding like an advisor that's agile and that can change with you as you buy companies or sell companies or grow bigger or look for other tax savings is really key. So I love that you brought that up. That's a really good.
Yeah.
So for kind of clarity, for business owners that are ready to take the next step in their retirement plan seriously, what should they do next?
Yeah, have conversations. Have conversations with people. We have an easy website to go to. It's 401k.expert. Okay, that's the website, 401k.expert. It takes you right to our landing page, and it's to connect with one of our experts. There's some case studies and things on there too, but having conversations in advance, not when the deadlines are here. For example, if you file an extension, let's say for 2024, you have up until the day you file, including those extensions. So September 15th for the most part, if you're an S corporation, things like that. You have up until that date to implement and contribute and deduct for 2024. As long as you file an extension, you're fine. So don't wait till September 10th to say, hey, I should probably do this. Let's talk. I talked to business owners for 2 years, sometimes 3 years before they actually like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to add this plan to my stack, but I'm not ready for it yet. And that's totally fine. I need to hit this level of profit before it makes any sense. I want to get to 500,000 before I start adding a defined benefit plan. Great. That's fine. And you add those layers but it all connects. It all connects. And and having those conversations and knowing when those deadlines are, knowing what's available, and then putting it to the side, that's absolutely fine. So just having a conversation, and go to 401k.expert and we can have those conversations.
I love it. Any final thoughts that you want to leave with our listeners that we haven't touched on today, Matt?
I think a lot of, just to reiterate kind of what we talked about already, is this is one part of the tax code. This is one. It all connects. Everything connects. All your other strategies connect, and making sure it all connects is very, very important.
I love it. Great advice. Now, where can our listeners best connect with you, Matt?
Yeah, 401k.expert. That's the best place to find us. 401k.expert. And you can find us on LinkedIn. It's Life Inc. Retirement Services is our company.
Thanks again for joining us today, Matt. Retirement might feel like a distant dream, but with the right plan, you can actually hit your goals and still enjoy the ride getting there. That's the Executive Connect podcast.